Greetings! I'm out here in the field. I've been reading a new book on Jean Toomer, and Jean Toomer was one of the massive students, one of the best people about the Gurdjieff work. He was an American, went over to Paris and joined Gurdjieff at the Priory. He actually met him when Gurdjieff came to New York and put on his displays of the dances and such like, and he went to his classes. And Toomer had such a full understanding of Gurdjieff's work. He'd been searching before he met Gurdjieff for, the understanding of life. What is life? What is it to be real? He read Eastern texts. He read different philosophies. He was fathoming the gist, as Gurdjieff would say. But when he met Gurdjieff, he realised that was the way for him. And as I say, he went out to France, Fontainebleau, after he met him in New York and spent some time out there. And Toomer was looking how to be a real man. That's what he wanted to understand. And he was doing that before he met Gurdjieff. But Gurdjieff, as I say, was the way that suddenly made sense to him, was everything he, it was like the guru had appeared, the master had appeared. So he went to see him. And then he continued after he came back from Paris to America and set up lots of groups in America in various states. He was he's one of the leading, are they teachers? People that was talking about the work and getting other people involved. And he continued writing, but much of his work remained unpublished. And in this book that I've recently bought on Toomer, Jean Toomer's Years with Gurdjieff, I realised that Toomer was kind of like myself, as in being a writer, obviously. My books are available on my website. But he wanted to put the Gurdjieff ideas into his writing. He was saying he would rather form a man than form a book. He was trying to develop himself. There's all these publishers going on at him, when's your next book coming out? And he was working on himself. But in one of the books, which was called The Gallen Works, which is unpublished, he writes this about the different types of people there are. And maybe you can implement this into what you see of people. So he writes, the mass of people do not have the task of becoming individualised. Their role in life has to do with mass functions. They eat, reproduce and participate in the collective experience. And for them that is enough. There are, to be sure, many misfits, many maladjusted members of this class. But they should not be confused with those who belong to one of the other two classes. All who are of the mass of people, whether they fit or misfit, this constitutes one class. A second class is made up of those who are already individualised. Then third, there is an in-between class, people who do not belong to the mass class, but who have not yet developed individuality. Life is very difficult for people of this kind, as you yourself know. They suffer, sometimes helplessly, between two cross poles, one drawing them towards the mass to which, hold on, let me just turn the page, let you see the sky, right, to which they can never really belong. The other drawing them towards an individualisation which they often fear to strive for. Life rides them on a row. They can fall and break themselves. They cannot dismount and walk the earth until they have learned to make courageous efforts to create in themselves a natural individual centre of functioning. And that's what we're trying to do with the Gurdjieff work. We're trying to create within ourselves, this natural individual centre of the real I. And it does take courageous efforts. It's an ongoing experience, it's an ongoing task. Where many people want to remain asleep, they like to, just live their life, not concerned with developing themselves in any way. And those people, I call them the sheep, they want to stay asleep. Their turn will come, perhaps in another life, or perhaps in this recurrence, if we go round and round in the same life over and over. But this lifetime, they're not willing to look at these things. Then there are those that have woken up and are working on themselves. And then there's the ones in between, the ones that are attempting to do it, getting caught up still in their, their life, their mainstream life. and having to make them courageous efforts to work on themselves so they can be the free, real person that they are, the real I. You know, when we're in our lives, as I said before, we put on different heads for different things. But if we're conscious in what we're doing, we're awake. And it's very difficult to be conscious in all things, but it takes practice, and we can continue practicing on ourselves so that we can do this. We can become a real person, form a real man or real woman, depending on what you are. You know, I tend to use the word man, including men and women. I suppose that's an old way of saying it now. I should be saying the human, the real human. So you'll probably, you know, could take them 3 types of people, them 3 classes he's talking about, and see it in other individuals, perhaps on yourself, working on yourself, and realising, you know, I used to want to wake the sheep up. Many of the sheep don't want waking up. You can offer it to them, but if they don't take the, you know, what's offered to them, and they want to go back to their own sleepy lives, let them. But those that take an interest, they're the ones that can be helped and can go forward and work on themselves. You know, and it takes time. As he says, the courageous efforts. You know, and hopefully with that magnetic centre you start developing in yourself as you work on yourself will bring you to other like-minded people, perhaps conscious people, awakened people that will help you on your path. So, as Jean Toomer says, I want to form a real person, not a real book. Though I will continue writing, hopefully my new book will be out soon. But otherwise, as I said before, my book's available on my website, debbie-elliott.co.uk. You know, if you're aspiring writers and artists, you know, continue that work. It's what we need in this time. It's creativity of working on ourselves helps us understand who we are. So until next time. Oh, and don't forget, well, hopefully I'll get this up in time. It's full moon this weekend. We've got a lunar eclipse in the UK. You know, make use of the astronomy and the astrology that's going on. Make them wishes, people. Make them wishes happen. And do